Hide your online activity and location with Virtual Shield VPN. Your 20% off code and your free trial are in the description. If you guys enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and share it with everybody you know. Guys, remember, it doesn't matter what people think. The price of freedom is still eternal vigilance. And indifference to this notion is the means by which the people will secure their own oppression. If you guys enjoy these videos, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, and share it with everybody you know.
Hi everyone, and thanks a lot for joining us. I'm DeMarco Morgan. The death toll from the California wildfires has climbed to at least 11. 2 victims were found today in southern. A fire that all but wiped out the town of Paradise has torched more than 100,000 acres. In the south, 2 fires have destroyed more than 150 homes in the foothills and canyons outside of Los Angeles.
Okay guys, before we get into this video, watch this clip very carefully.
Malibu looks like a war zone. Homes and businesses destroyed. Charred earth as far as the eye can see.
Call me crazy, but I got a couple questions about this frame. Not only are the house on the left and the house on the right untouched, but the tree lines between the center property and the other 2 properties are still standing and green. The house in the center has been virtually obliterated and the greenery is still green.
In Northern California, the Camp Fire has claimed 9 lives and has become the most destructive fire in California history. State fire officials are investigating what caused the fire.
They are investigating? Why haven't we seen any mainstream news outlet even mention this satellite footage showing the obvious explosion in the very beginning of the Paradise Fire?
But we do know that electric company PG&E experienced a problem with an electrical transmission line near the site of the fire minutes before it broke out.
This fire has been very unpredictable. You can see that home right there is untouched, while feet away, that car burned down.
Wait a minute. Let's go back to that vehicle again. So this minivan, which is surrounded mostly by concrete, had its windows blown out, the paint scorched off, and the tires burned off, while the only thing that looks like it could have possibly burned near it are this bush and a couple of palm trees.
And this is the level of devastation as you come up the hillside. More than 150 buildings look like this, just burned to the ground. Firefighters think that number could go up as they start assessing the damage.
Again, all surrounded by large areas of concrete. This house is untouched. This vehicle is burned to the ground, and this house is gone, but this green bush right here is still green. In their full-on feverish slobbering sprint to paint Trump in as bad a light as they can, while craftily dodging actual reporting on topics of substance, one segment of the enemy of the people, CNN, continues to stick their disgusting foot into their pathetic mouths. Predictably, this happens every time they open their lying pie holes. And don't misunderstand me, this is not a defense of Trump or the system he represents. Facts will always be facts, and they will never give a damn about your feelings. The only side honest people can take is the evidence-based route that clings like there's no tomorrow to facts and truth. People are being burned alive, 250,000 people are displaced from their homes, over 6,700 structures have been completely destroyed, and deadly smoke and other gases fill the air, poisoning millions of people. And nobody is talking about this. Again, it's the beginning of the Paradise Fire. In this satellite footage, we see an explosion. We see a projectile going up and then coming back down to the earth. And then we see smoke from the fire. But nobody's going to talk about that?
President Trump, when he was in France, had something to say about the wildfires devastating California this weekend. He wrote, "There is no reason for these massive, deadly, and costly forest fires in California except that forest management is so poor."
Let's stop right there for a second. In this sentence, Trump is both wrong and right. How can any rational person take issue with the assertion by anybody that any government agency, in this case forest management, is a poor performer? Name one government agency that doesn't mismanage and waste taxpayer money and doesn't make things generally worse for people it claims to protect and serve while it collects and serves itself. Yet, because they hate Trump, CNN is about to defend a failing, expensive, mismanaged government agency. Or they're going to try to anyway. So Trump is partially right. But for him to say that there's no reason except poor forest management, as we're going to see, is naive or intentionally deceptive. Because the government's power brokers always seek to destroy people's lives and move them off of their properties for their own purposes. If you doubt the consistently manipulative and tyrannical behavior of agents of government, one only needs to refer to the declassified Operation Northwoods document and the Gulf of Tonkin lie that led to the deaths of at least 1.5 million people in the extended Vietnam War as just two examples.
He accuses officials of mismanaging the force and adds, quote, "Remedy now or no more Fed payments."
I won't belabor the point here, but Fed payments are the monies given to so-called centralized authorities of this corporation known as the United States to corrupt state-level politicians of California after they've been extracted by threats, coercion, and force from working-class Americans. And it's all done through the domestic terrorist organization known as the IRS. In other words, what Trump is saying is that unless you get your act together, California, we won't give you any more of America's stolen money. How about stop stealing the money in the first place? I mean, that seems like the right thing to do, right? Back to CNN's lies.
I want to get Tom Sater in here from the CNN Severe Weather Center. And Tom, some West Coast firefighters had an answer for the president. I want to read part of it to you.
Keep in mind, this CNN video is titled, "CNN Meteorologist Debunks Trump on Wildfires."
The head of the Pasadena Fire Association writing, "Mr. President, with all due respect, you are wrong. The fires in SoCal are urban interface fires."
Just in case you're not aware, an urban interface is a zone of transition between unoccupied land and human development. Communities that are within a half a mile of the zone may also be included. These lands and communities adjacent to and surrounded by wildlands are, of course, at risk for wildfires.
And have nothing to do with forest management. Come to SoCal and learn the facts and help the victims. Tom, a strong statement there from the California firefighters.
CNN loves and gravitates toward any strong statement that makes Trump look bad. I mean, see how happy it makes him?
Fact check President Trump's tweet for us.
Did you get that? A CNN meteorologist is going to fact check Trump's negative statement about a government agency. How the heck is it that a meteorologist is uniquely qualified to speak on these topics? Let's check his fact-checking capabilities.
Okay, I enjoy being in the weather department because it's neutral, with the exception of climate change issues, but...
Wait, what? The climate change issue is the excluding factor that keeps the weather department from being fully neutral? You'll see in this next clip that when he says neutral, he's talking about political neutrality. So he's saying that climate change, or weather, which, by the way, happens whether people inhabit the planet or not, falls under the scope of politics? That's an interesting factoid there, Tom. Let's see what other CNN facts you can give to the public.
Staying out of the political arena, this is wrong on so many levels. They're right. This has nothing to do with forest management. I mean, look, we're not looking at dense forest here, especially down in Malibu. But forest management has nothing to do with mountain winds coming down the passes at 70 miles per hour.
Forest management has nothing to do with mountain winds coming down the passes at 70 miles per hour.
Remember, if you've taken any nuggets of truth away from my constant objective exposure of mainstream media and specifically CNN, you know by now that you can make a lot of money if you bet that everything they say is the exact opposite of reality. So Tom says,
forest management has nothing to do with mountain winds coming down the passes at 70 miles per hour.
Are you sure about that, Tom? You're in the weather business, buddy. What about weather modification experts? What about the controllers of the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program known as HAARP? What about those who have the power and technology to make it rain, withhold the rain, dry up the clouds, warm the oceans, spray the chemicals, and seed the clouds? Could they have anything to do with those winds coming down the mountain passes? Could they be responsible for the dry climate which gave rise to the fires? Is it possible that those who can create a dry climate can also help ignite the fire, like this satellite imagery shows here in the initiation of this recent Paradise Fire, which is now listed as the worst fire in California's history? But Tom's not going to talk about that. And so far, not only has he not fact-checked, he's sidestepping main issues. Check this out.
Forest management has nothing to do with mountain winds coming down the passes at 70 miles per hour or humidity levels in 1 hour dropping Thursday from 35% down in the single digits, drier than most deserts.
He's admitting that the humidity dropped from 35% to a drier than most deserts level in 1 freaking hour? How is that even naturally possible, Tom? You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the overconfident power player on the chessboard bragging to his opponent what he's going to do, what he has done, and what he has the power to do. They're openly bragging through CNN talking heads about the power they wield and are basically saying there's not a damn thing you or I can do about it, as they put it off on the negative effects of climate change that we must do something about.
But again, if you think about it, to say remedy now or we'll take your funds, he's already taken some of their funds. But I read a tweet that followed that one that makes good sense. It said, it's like taking funds from the National Hurricane Center until you stop all these hurricanes. I mean, it's the same notion.
Yeah, it is the same notion. And we've already talked in depth about how they create these climates that create these massive storms. If you have doubts about this and you need evidence, check out YouTube channels like Weather Wars 101 and Mike Morales' channel, where they talk about NexRad, HARP, and geoengineering.
But more importantly, people died in their homes. They found bodies outside the homes, in their vehicles, trying to flee, outside their vehicles, just trying to run away. We've got a problem here because even though the winds may lighten tomorrow for the northern area and the campfire, they're going to remain strong to the south. And I think by Tuesday, we may see the winds pick up just like we did on Thursday, where the fires to the north and the campfire were burning 8 football fields every minute. High pressure Santa Ana winds keeping the rain out of the area. We should have 5 to 6 inches of rain since the beginning of October. We haven't had a drop.
And why do you think that is, Tom? Guys, just Google weather manipulation. This is not some conspiracy theory. This is something that happens every single day by interested parties who are profiting from devastating areas with geoengineered weather. The problem is not climate change. The question is, who's initiating that climate change and why? The answer is not introducing government to create more restrictions for the people. The answer is to get to the root of the problem and investigate the powers that be. And how do we find out who these powers that be are? It's very simple. Follow the money. But CNN won't talk about that.
So again, there's fingerprints of climate change there.
To them, climate change means curbing the carbon emissions of people. And I find it humorous and at the same time sinister that the very people pushing the climate change agenda are themselves doing the most to destroy the climate.
But as those winds come down these mountains, they dry up. They come across this very dry land. They also heat up because the air is compressing. The worst elements you want. Look at the western U.S. Here's snow up in the areas of the Rockies. There's not a cloud around. That is the plume on Thursday from the campfire. We get in closer, you see how it's coming right down through Paradise, right offshore.
Yeah, that's a nice map you got there, Tom. Now let's pull up a satellite loop of that same area. This is the beginning of that fire, guys. Somebody or a group of people intentionally started this fire. Something was detonated in this exact area, flew very far up into the sky, came back to the earth, and the most devastating and deadly fire in California history was born. But Tom's not going to talk about that either.
Saturday, the wind shifted and brought all that smoke inland. Santa Rosa, San Francisco, San Jose, over to Fresno. And the southern fires, they even have smoke down in Baja California, so all of California.
So the people who started this fire are poisoning millions of people with toxic air by one act of violence, which we have recorded here via satellite. And nobody is investigating. If you guys think Trump is such a good guy that really wants to work for the people, then send this video to him. Let him know that it contains evidence of the very beginning of the deadliest, most costly fire in California's history, and see if he'll investigate it. This video with its damning evidence should be top trending and getting millions of views, but it won't.
Let's break this down. Amazing containment at 25%. I know you might think, 25% is nothing. They've been working their tails off with tanker after tanker, over 109,000 acres continuing to burn. Here is Paradise in the middle, Chico, where everybody went for refuge, but these are the hot spots. If you look at the flight patterns right now, the tankers are taking, they're pretty much all over the northern flank. They've got hot spots here, but they're also working down to the south where Orville is. Remember the Orville Dam?
How about the flight paths of the planes commissioned to seed the clouds and manipulate the weather, Tom?
Problems they had a couple of years ago. Hotspots are picking up in Butte Valley even as we speak. When you look at this though, the most destructive, here are the top 10 most destructive fires.
Look at this chart he has up here, guys. 5 of the top 10 California wildfires have occurred in the last year alone.
Most of these are 1,000 homes or businesses destroyed, and now we're up to 6,700. But more importantly, if you look at the years, there's only 1 year, 1991, that isn't from the years 2003, but most are 2015, 2017, and now 2018. Red flag warnings, most of California into the desert Southwest. If you look at the southern fire, 10% containment. This on it is where we've got tens of thousands of homes that are still at risk. When these winds kick up in these Santa Anas and they're under a critical, not just critical, but even higher than that threat, they're trying to save Malibu right now. But again, how about for the folks in Thousand Oaks? They just went through just a miserable period with the shooting.
Got to keep that alleged shooting fresh on the minds of the people.
And many of them are evacuating 24 hours later, or at least packing up. You get over to areas such as Hidden Hills. Look at this. They're battling that southern flank before it gets into this region. There are so many facets to what these firefighters have to deal with, but I'm worried about these mountain passes again when they come down through these valleys. Again, the plume to the south, offshore. Yesterday, the plume moved back in. So smoke, even in Burbank, when the wind shifted yesterday, a lot of people had to stay indoors. To the north, critical will go away tomorrow. That's great news. But the extreme down in Southern California from these fires down here, by the way, the Hill Fire is 75% contained, which is fabulous, but that's going to remain intact for tomorrow. By Tuesday, I think we revert back to possibly the entire region, looking at strong winds like we had on Thursday when this first started. But forest management, not with this.
And that was your fact check of Trump's statement by Tom, the meteorologist, which contained no pertinent facts, if it contained any facts at all. So CNN mislabeled yet another video and lied to viewers again in their attempt to protect a government agency and make Trump look bad again. Guys, what's happening here is a whole new level of sinister. And the fact that CNN won't broadcast this satellite video of the beginning of the worst fire in California's recorded history testifies to the fact that they're complicit in this crime. If you guys get something positive out of my videos and you want to support independent journalism, the Patreon and PayPal links are in the description and in the pinned comment. I'll see you guys in the next video.